Hey friends, my name is Justin. If we haven't met, I just wanted to hop on here just for a few minutes and give you a quick overview of TAC Portal and kind of highlight some of the big features here. One thing, just kind of as we begin, is TAC Portal is an ongoing effort. It's being updated nearly every day, just as our needs continue to grow and as TAC Portal's reach into the TAC world just continues to expand. So if you ever have suggestions or if you find any bugs, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on the tax Slack, um, but I can also share my info with you too directly if you reach out. So just want to give you a quick overview real quick of all that TAC Portal is. At the root of it, I needed a solution for a problem that I had. I am starting to build out our county's TAC server, and I needed a way to be able to give segmented access to each of these agency admins or each of these agencies to have their own piece of the pie, to have their own portion of TAC server without giving them full reins to the whole TAC kingdom or TAC server. So TAC Portal in the simplest form is just a user management interface. It relies on Authentic in the background to handle all the LDAP and to handle all the user management. So TAC Portal is simply a pretty user front end designed with those specific controls in mind for agency, countywide, statewide deployments at a larger scale. So heading into TAC Portal, if you'll notice right here, we're sitting on the dashboard. For me, it just gives, quick stat overview of, what's going on with our server. How many users in total do we have in the system? How many agencies are set up? What are group counts looking at? Those are just numbers, just, kind of fun, kind of good to know. And then you can also get a real-time look at how many people are actually connected to your server at this time, as well as integrations, uptime, disk usage, things like that that are being provided by TAC Portal. Each of these cards are clickable, and you'll actually be able to see, if I were to click on the connected users, you see a list of everybody that's connected to your server right now. I'm not going to do that just for time's sake. And then down below, you get just quick graphs of breakdowns of who's on your server. Again, right now I'm in the process of standing our countywide server up. So right now it's just primarily sheriff's office on here. And then you also get a breakdown just by agency type. Again, right now it is in a small form on this server. Below, you also get a quick access to bookmarks. These are fully customizable in the server settings window. They're only shown to the global admin. So anytime I say global admin, this is, think God mode. This is the highest level of admin that TAC Portal provides. So these are just quick links for me to get to things that matter to me. They're not shown to some of the other admins on their system. So upon getting TAC Portal, one of the first things that you'll want to do is go into the Agencies tab under Configuration here on the left. Once you open up this page, this is where you start creating the agencies in your system. So if you'll notice, I've got Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, and the abbreviation for Hamilton County in my area is HCSO. Now, one thing really unique about TAC Portal is it always appends or it always adds a username suffix to the end of the username. So if the badge number is 1234 and you set the suffix to HS for the sheriff's office agency, it'll be 1234 HS. And that's how we are going to know in TAC Portal which person, which username is applied to each agency. From there, you do set up the county, as well as the county abbreviation, state, and then what type of agency this is. By doing so, you have a predefined list, but you can also go into server settings and add additional agency types if you feel like this list is not sufficient for you. You can also set the default color, which is again super handy, and we'll talk about more in just a little bit. In addition to being able to add these agencies one at a time, you can also create them and add them from a CSV. Again, if you just have a lot of agencies, you can download that template real quick and upload many agencies at one time if that's easier for you. From the Agencies tab, you also have a quick kind of menu to see who the admins are in your system. I'll show you how to set that in just a second. You can also manage the access that they have. So by default, the admins for each agency will have access to the channels or the groups created by that one agency. But if you want to give them further reach outside of just their agency, say you want to give them the ability to give a mutual aid channel out, or a countywide or statewide, or just a global channel that's made here, you can do that super easily. And you can control what access that admin has to hand out. You can also configure the domain. This we probably won't cover in this video, but this is just a way to where if you have accounts set up for individual apparatuses, maybe not users, then this would be where you can set a domain, and that user can actually go to the TAC portal link /lookup, and they can type in that apparatus username as well as their email address. And as long as their email address is in that domain, it'll send them the password that's good for 15 minutes in the form of a QR code. So super cool way to do that. So without getting too much in the weeds, we'll move on. So once you create agencies, you'll likely want to go to the groups page next under users and groups. From here, this is where you can start defining, obviously, the structure of what your tax server is going to look like. I'd recommend at a minimum setting up one group per agency. So agency specific group, Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, for instance, we'll just call this main. And from there, I'd leave it at both. You do have full control. So just like with standard tax server, if you set it to both, this is both your in and your out group if you're used to that terminology. But you can also create separate ones. So if you want someone to be a read only, or if you want them to be a write only, you can also do that too and just make different versions of that same group. This hide from agency admins only applies if you're making an agency specific group. So if me as a global admin was making something for the sheriff's office that I wanted to hide from those admins, this is where I'd do that. You can also set a description. These do show up in ATAC and are incredibly handy as well. So outside of agency, you can also set county-specific groups. So again, this list will populate based off what you have in your agencies. So you won't see options in this menu that don't exist already in your agencies page. You can also do statewide groups, again, populated from the agencies page, or global groups that aren't necessarily tied down to any specific thing. A global group, for instance, for me is this aircraft all group. It's not one, while it is area defined, it's something that anybody can have access to. I'm not too worried about it being locked down to just one entity. From there, once you get a couple of your groups set up, you don't have to do it all the way. Hop over to the templates page. Templates page is really powerful. Whenever I created this page, this was solving, all of this solves a need for me, but this was a really big need where every time I would create someone in my agency, say for patrol or for SWAT, I would have to open an Excel spreadsheet and find a list of all the groups and channels that person gets at that access level. And then I'd have to go into tax server and drag and drop each of those groups in to the in, to the out, to the both. And that's just time consuming. It's not efficient. So what I came up with is templates. So for instance, if you select the agency you want to make a template for, name it, and then if you want to override the default agency color, you can, or you can just set it to use the default. You can also set it to be a default template, and I'll show you that in a second. But then you can come through here and say, for this test user, say if they're working patrol, you can go through here and click each channel or each group that you want this person to have by default or by application of this template on creation. So you can make as many templates as you like. Agency admins also have access to do this with only the access level that they have. So from here, we'll hop over to the users page, and this is where kind of some of the real magic happens. So on the users page, notice we get a list of all of our existing users down below, but up at the top is where we create users. So manually creating a user, you go in here, type the badge number, select what agency. If you're an agency admin, you're only going to see your own agency in this list. This will be locked down just to your agency. you type a first and a last name. We'll use John Doe today. For an email, if you enter an email here, once you create that user, the power of Tac Portal is me as an admin, I don't have to set every person's password in my agency. I can simply enter this email address of jdoe at hcsheriff.gov, for instance. And once I click create down here, this will send this user an email with instructions on how to set up their own call sign, how to log in. So the color, the basics of that, but also giving them instructions to come to TAC Portal to hit the forgot password button, and they can set their own password there without ever needing to call an admin and have an admin set that for them. This is incredibly handy. I'm going to take that out for right now, though. You also have access here to Patrol. So, I'm sorry, to the templates. So here's where you set which template you want to apply to this person. For instance, Patrol is the default template for this agency. So that's why Patrol is already pre-selected. Here you also have a chance to set them as an agency or as a global admin on creation. You can also do this later on, though. So for right now, we'll go ahead and create this new user. Notice that it does this very quickly. But also one of the main powerful things about TAC Portal is that you can also create from CSV. So if you hit this button to download a CSV template, you can create hundreds of users in one click, send out hundreds of emails that, again, in just a few seconds, you can be bringing all these users into the system. Now, I'll go ahead and pull up this user. Notice I can search by all agencies, but I can also filter that down. Again, if you're an agency admin, you'll only see your agency. From here, I can quickly hit edit, and now I'm editing the details on this person. So if I need to change their email address, say that gets updated later on, or the name, the password, I can also manually do that here. We can also resend them that onboarding email. If it got lost or went to spam or whatever the case is, just a quick click, we can get that on its way to them. You can also edit the groups that this person has. So simply by clicking an additional group, they now have access to that channel or that group. You can also wipe their entire channels and groups by applying a template. So if, say, someone moves from patrol to the SWAT team or whatever the case is, all I have to do is just go in there, click SWAT. It'll wipe the existing access and replace it with that new template. Here you can also change, you can bump them up to an agency admin or to a global admin. So super handy page. But one of the neat things too that you can do is if you click QR code from an admin side, now this is not the user side, but from an admin side, you can quickly generate a 15-minute QR code that user can scan to get onboarded if they're standing, right beside you. Now, users in and of themselves have their own way that they can log into TAC Portal and get this information for themselves, as well as easy to read instructions, app download links, things like that, step by step of how to get onboarded. That is built into TAC Portal that we may look at here in a little bit. But this is a super handy tool if you've got someone standing right beside you that needs to get on real quick. You can also disable or delete this person from TAC Portal entirely. Both of those options will revoke any certificates that they have. So even if they're signed in on 100 devices, it's going to go through and revoke the client certificates on each one of those to ensure that they cannot connect, and then it will delete the user to make sure that they cannot sign back in. Again, incredibly handy. Now, from here, this is a majority of TAC Portal. One of the things you might notice right now is at the top of the page, we've got one pending user request. That is actually coming from a public-facing page that comes with TAC Portal, where you can give this link out to your agencies, to neighbor agencies, whatever the case is, and it will quickly give them a way to fill out their info and request access to a system. So even if their agency is not in this list, they can hit other and put in their agency name. And just what a cool way, to work with your partner agencies and those around, getting them set up. So once that does come in, it sends an email to agency admins. So again, the idea is not to have to involve a million people. So if it doesn't need to, it doesn't. So if you select sheriff's office on that drop down, that email goes to the sheriff's office personnel, and they're the ones that get access to approve or decline this request. So if we click on this, it'll quickly show me the information when it was submitted, and if I want to move forward with this user, I just click approve, select what template I want to give them, and hit create. They get the email back saying, hey, you've been created in TAC Portal, here's your information. It is a incredibly seamless and easy process, to get people onto the system. And that's obviously our goal. Now, I'm going to talk through some of the other, kind of lesser tools in TAC Portal, but still equally helpful. We'll go into the administration tab for this. As the global admin, they do have access to audit logs, so they can see every click that those agency admins are doing. Again, when we're talking about giving this to many, many different agencies, many different counties, whatever your case is, obviously we want to be tracking, what they're doing in case we ever need to audit that later or if we have bugs in the system. So this is auditing, the user actions themselves. It is still a work in progress, but this page will continue to get cleaned up. You also have a data package management page. So from here, you can quickly upload data packages to share server-wide, as well as download, archive, and delete existing data packages on the server. The goal here is not to have to fiddle with the TAC server interface itself, but to, again, just bring it into this easy-to-use UI. Here on data sync, this is, again, similar concept as data package, except for from here, you can actually create data sync missions from this page. Now, this is the newest of the pages, so it's still being modified, still being edited, but notice kind of similar functions again. You can download these, you can delete them, you can edit them. This is a page that's going to continue to see a lot of refinement here in the next few weeks. Also, as a global admin, but also as an agency admin, we have access to email the users from within TAC Portal. The use case for this, and this is incredibly handy, is if I have planned system downtime, if I'm going to be doing maintenance or whatever the case is, I'm just going to click all users and I'm going to blast everybody and say, hey, we're going to have an outage during this time. If you're an agency admin, call me, let me know, we'll reschedule or whatever the case is. But you can send it to specific agencies. So maybe I'm adding a new channel for EMS and I need to let them know, hey, you may be seeing this new channel pop up in your feed. This is what it is. This is what it's used for. Again, super handy. You can also target specific groups. So I can go, and say, hey, if you have the aircraft channel, you're going to get an email saying, XYZ. Again, this is just a handy feature to have easily available. Locate person is a really powerful tool that I'll touch on later in a more advanced video. But this is a way that you can send a link via text, via email to a lost person if they have cell service, obviously. And if they click that link and hit enable location, they will start sharing their location from a web browser to dropped pins on the TAC map. You can also send those to a data sync as well. So incredibly powerful for search and rescue if that person has a phone and has cell service, which, obviously they may or may not, but I'll touch on this at a later time. Mutual aid is something incredibly powerful here as well. This is something that, again, has come from just a personal need of doing this. So you can create mutual aids here at the top. Kind of follows the same structure as a lot of other pages. Also note that this page is only for global admins, but to create a mutual aid, select if you're creating an incident, an event, or just a standby. For today, we'll just call it test. For a group, we can either create a new group that we give out to agencies that are going to be helping with this mutual aid. So say if we need to bridge EMS and the sheriff's office, we can create a new group, assign that out to both groups, and now they can both come to that same group and be sharing data with each other super easily. What you can also do is use an existing group. So maybe you already have a group that a lot of agencies are pouring data into, but you need to create a one-time user to onboard, 30, 40, 50, people showing up on scene that maybe aren't affiliated with these other agencies, but need to start feeding into one of their data channels. This is how we do that. So just kind of a quick rundown of that. So if you're using an existing mutual aid, you can click Show QR on this. And this will give you a QR code, but this time it's for a one-time user. For instance, in this case, it's MA-Hamilton County. So from here, we can start sharing this QR code with others to get them onboarded rapidly. And all that one-time user has is access to just this one channel. You also have access to a button called Download Packet and Email Packet. So if you download the packet, I'm not going to do it for today's video, but if you download this packet, it is a 5 or 6 page packet that includes all the instructions for QR codes to download TAC-aware or ATAC. It includes this one-time user QR code. It also includes some guides for color guides and for role guides. And you can set those customly in the server settings for however your TAC server environment is set up. So you can go ahead and define, I want all aircraft to be blue. I want National Park Service to be green. Whatever the case is, you can set that on your own in server settings. Email Packet also just does the exact same thing. So rather than downloading the PDF on your device, you can hit Email Packet and go ahead and be sending that to whoever the IC is or whoever's in command on that scene. Super powerful tool. There's a lot here in mutual aid, and you'll probably get a video in and of itself here soon. The rest we'll kind of hit at a later time to talk about integrations, plugin manager. Those two both just have so much functionality built in there that's hard to cover in this video, and I know that this is starting to run long. Again, from server settings though, this is something that only the global admin has access to. But this is where you go in there, just define your email server, your SMS server. If you want to add additional agency types to that agency page, you do it here. You can set your call sign format. So not every TAC server has people setting up their call sign the same way. So if you add and move around these generic fields that are here, this will set the format for how that email goes out to all of your new users. So maybe you want it to be TN-HCSO-Davis-1234. You can set that here, and so then whenever they get the email, it'll fill in those blocks with that specific user's information. Again, super handy not to have to walk through that. From here, just additional links. Here's where you can set kind of some of those settings for the deployment packet. Finally, we'll touch on the onboarding. This is the page that all users have access to. So even a standard user that's not an admin will have access to log in here to TAC Portal, and they're just going to see these two pages. If they go to the Setup My Device page, it's kind of a guided prompt. So they select you're on Apple, Android, or if you're on a web browser, you can link this to Cloud TAC. But if I click Apple, it'll real quick give me that link to go download TAC-aware. If I click this, it'll give me a QR code to scan with instructions, as well as I could also manually configure things. As well as it's going to give me some best tips and practices for configuring that device to be optimal on that network. Same thing with Android. It'll give you the link to either ATAC or to Open TAC Tracker, which is kind of a new app out there to replace the old TAC Tracker. Again, this just kind of walks you through everything. Once you click on these links, all of them are interactive, and they'll take you to wherever you need to go or show you information that's applicable. Finally, we have an ATAC plugin page. So me as an admin, I can go in here to Plugin Manager, link it to my tac.gov account, and download these plugins and put them in an easy place for all of my users on TAC Portal to log in and just go grab without having to set up their own tac.gov account. So real quickly, as soon as someone gets the device set up, I can say, hey, go to the plugins page, go download DataSync, go download DroneHone, or something else specifically if they need it. Again, super easy place. Ease of use is obviously at the core of all this. So hopefully I haven't went too long today. Hopefully you got a decent little quick flyby of TAC Portal. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via Slack, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. So thank you so much. Have a good one.